What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Going the Distance podcast presented by ImmaculateSports.com. Twitter's at ImmacSports.
Instagram is also at ImmacSports.
TikTok, YouTube, Immaculate Sports. It's episode 238, and we are about a series and some change into the MLB season. So, of course, we got some overreactions and more, too. We want to talk about more than just 5 teams, so we're doing a little more than that.
Yeah, we'll get into our power rankings that we've done for football, basketball throughout the seasons. We did it last year for baseball, I believe, too. So kind of our first real top 15 power rankings of the season here. It's always good to just kind of have this like really early check-in where everything seems more drastic than it is. Like, will the Braves win a game or not? Who knows? Will the Padres lose or the Dodgers lose? Who knows? Maybe we'll talk about that. But yeah, the first weekend of baseball was pretty good. A whole bunch of different things could have been our opener. It could have been Ellie De La Cruz in the crazy game he had yesterday. Could have been Jazz Chisholm or any one of the Yankees and the torpedo bats that have taken over the baseball world. It could have been Matt McClain, our guy, who's hit 3 homers in back-to-back-to-back games, which is pretty cool to see for a guy who was out all of last year. Several players off to a good start. But I think probably the coolest moment for me was Mookie Betts' walk-off home run this weekend against the Detroit Tigers. Mookie's had a obviously very detailed journey over the past couple of weeks with his sickness. They didn't really know what it was. He went down about 10, 15 pounds, couldn't play in Japan, kind of just flew out there for nothing, and then came back and was still sick, couldn't hold anything down for a couple of weeks. And something about Mookie that we know is that he's not a crazy exit velo guy, but he's great at getting everything that he has into a baseball. And he hit a couple of big homers for the Dodgers over the weekend. And his walk-off homer, the emotion that he showed, obviously was a culmination of all that, just I guess you could call it hard work, but just kind of the things he had to go through the past couple of weeks, and seeing it all, go out into the excitement that he showed was pretty cool for one of the best players that we've seen in our lifetime. It just shows how good he is again, once again.
Absolutely. Shout out Mookie. That was an awesome comeback. I think the best thing I saw, the most excited I was probably Jeffrey Springs' first start for the A's. And we can get into that later, but I think the best game I watched was the last college game in San Francisco this season. As the Gators come back down 11 points with 3 minutes left, they save their season. The hero of this game is senior point guard Walter Clayton Jr. He drops 30 points on Texas Tech, one of the best defenses in the nation. I'm excited to see if they can keep the magic going against Auburn in Indianapolis, and I'll have my pick for that game later in the episode.
So will I, as we get into our player, pitcher, and rookie of the week. Something we haven't done in a couple months now since football season has ended. Obviously, not doing football this time around. We'll be talking about baseball, which leads us to the player of the week. And it felt like we had a pretty easy one in the first half week of baseball that we got this year.
Yeah, Ellie, of course, was an amazing watch, but it's got to be Aaron Judge. He had 6 for 11 so far, over 500 for the week, 4 monstrous homers, 11 ribbies, and just 3 games over Milwaukee. Another shout-out, Eugenio Suarez. He basically tells Jordan Lawler, sorry, buddy, this spot's taken. You're going to have to find elsewhere to play. So I think that narrative's pretty cool, but it's got to be Aaron Judge.
Yeah, Aaron Judge, definitely my guy as well, too. You mentioned Eugenio Suarez. I believe now, since the All-Star break of last year, I believe he's like 3rd or something in all the MLB and home runs behind Judge and Shohei or something. So he's been put on his power display after a slow start to begin last year. But my guy's Aaron Judge as well, too. 6 for 11, 2 doubles, 4 homers, 11 RBIs, 3 walks, an OPS of 2.461. He actually just got out against Corbin Burns, so rare occurrence there. But I think the 8 runs scored is also pretty crazy as well, too. When you only have 6 hits and score 8 runs, that shows – it's not really talking about what you did sometimes, even though he had 4 homers, but his teammates have been getting him in as well, too, which was a struggle for guys not named Juan Soto, who was sitting ahead of him last year. So Juan Soto wasn't bringing him Aaron Judge anyways. But Jazz Chisholm mainly and all the other guys behind Aaron Judge have been putting in work as well, too. So I guess you could say the whole Yankees lineup could be the player of the week, but if you got to choose one, it's going to be Aaron Judge.
Yeah.
How about pitcher of the week?
I still think it's got to be Mackenzie Gore from opening day. 6 shutout, 13 Ks against that great Philly lineup. Only 1 base runner allowed. What a start. I saw some comparisons to Bob Gibson's opening day, his legendary 1969 season. I don't think it'll be that, but I still love the start for Mackenzie Gore.
Yeah, Mackenzie Gore was dominant on opening day, and he's going to be my pitcher of the week as well, too. Like you said, 6 shut, only 1 hit allowed, 13 Ks and 0 walks. I did see some statistics that showed last year his slider usage versus lefties was only about 4% or something, and that jumped to over 50% on opening day against the lefties in the Phillies lineup, which obviously include Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber, 2 of the biggest guys in that lineup, and it worked well for him. Maybe just that difference, made him super effective that day. Hopefully, it's not just that solo day. Hopefully, we see Mackenzie Gore be effective throughout the entire season because he was a super high prospect coming up and has had some struggles, but also some signs of being a really good pitcher in the big leagues. And it seems like we could be getting to that Mackenzie Gore that we originally thought we saw when he was coming up in the Padres system and now with the Nationals. How about rookie of the week?
Shout out to Christian Campbell. He got on base half of the time, 500 on base percentage in his first ever series in the big leagues, but they didn't win a whole lot of games. So I'm going to go to another pitcher here, Chicago's opening day starter, Sean Burke, 6-inning shutout against the Angels in his 4th career start. Only 3 hits, only 3 Ks, but a whole lot of ground balls. And a guy that was mocked a lot on Twitter, specifically, probably elsewhere too, even in the ballpark. But those guys really shut up LA in that first game.
Yeah, there's a couple different hitters. I think get honorable mentions, like you said, Christian Campbell, Jacob Wilson, one of our own, I think definitely deserves to be talked about as well, too, as he hit his first big league home run yesterday. And I believe has notched a hit in every single game of the season so far, except for probably the first game of the year. Actually, no, he got the A's first hit of the year anyways against Logan Gilbert, so scratch that. But Sean Burke is going to be my guy as well, too. Like you said, 6 shut, only 3 hits, 3 Ks, and the 1-0 in the win column for the Chicago White Sox, which obviously means something. Saw a tweet from, I believe it was Underdog, where they were comparing the first 4 starters of the White Sox to like the 1995 Braves as a joke. And it's been that way, actually, in the first 4 games. I don't believe they've given up an earned run yet. Martin Perez yesterday didn't throw a single pitch over 89 miles per hour and threw 6 no-hit innings. I definitely think he's a possible guy for pitcher of the week as well, too, but we decided to go with both of us going Mackenzie Gore. But all the White Sox rotation definitely deserves their props in the first 4 games of the season because it's probably not going to be that way in the rest of the 158. But Sean Burke specifically, rookie of the week for both me and Skyler, as we get a clean sweep on the awards. So we do this every single time we have our first baseball episode of the season after the season begins, and it's overreaction time. We have 5 overreactions each of us came up with before the show. Obviously, they could be the same or they could be different, so we don't know. We'll find that out as we go along. But what is your first overreaction, Skyler?
Yeah, we're surprisingly on the same page for the awards. Not overthinking that one, but I'm sure we'll have some of that here. We'll start off with a positive one. Aaron Judge is not even close to slowing down. He looks pretty uncontested for American League MVP after just 1 week. He's on pace to win another one, and I say he hits 60 homers again.
I like that prediction. My overreaction went a bit more to the next step. I said Aaron Judge will break Barry Bonds' single-season home run record. If there's one guy that could do it, it's him. We've seen over the past 3-4 years that this is the best hitter in baseball, and that includes Shohei Ohtani, all these guys. Like, there's no better offensive talent than Aaron Judge. The only question is, will he get pitched to enough? And if Jazz Chisholm, Jason Dominguez, all the guys below him in the lineup continue to stay hot, we will see Aaron Judge get pitched to. And I think if we see him get pitched to and get 600 at-bats, 650 at-bats, maybe even more, he's got a very legitimate chance to break that 73 home run record because he's ridiculous. And having him in fantasy is pretty cool as well, too. I'll say that.
Okay.
How about the second overreaction?
I'll stay in the AL East with this one with the Boston Red Sox. I think we all jumped the gun a little too early on these guys. Kyle and I both picked them to win the American League pennant, and I still expect a good season, but if they can't keep up offensively with the Yankees and the Orioles, the postseason is not a gimme for them. This is a very young team, and they haven't all even played together. There's a couple guys still in AAA who are expected to be top of the order guys.
My second overreaction stays, or I guess not stays because we just talked about Aaron Judge, but goes to the West Coast where we are, and specifically the Northwest with Logan Gilbert. Will he lead the American League in innings pitched and will be the first to break 220 innings pitched since Sandy Alcantara did it in 2022 with 228 and 2/3. He went 7 shut against the A's, or not shut, but only 1 run allowed. And I think we can see that to be pretty much the baseline for him this season. We've talked about him specifically about being pretty much exactly what you want in an ace. He's got funky arm slot, funky delivery, but he's big, strong, and has had the pedigree to kind of stay on the mound over the past 3 to 4 years. And we're seeing it really come together for him right now, I believe. The A's lineup hasn't had their greatest days yet. But we know it's a solid group and probably going to be right around league average to slightly above average. He's pitching against the Tigers tonight. If he gets 7 again in this one, I think we're definitely going to be looking at a guy that has the ability to get to that 220 inning mark, which is such a rare feat in today's age of baseball.
Especially if the offense doesn't help him out.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's gonna be just like Felix Hernandez that one year, win the Cy Young, go like 9-13 or something like that. Moving on to our third overreaction.
One we talked about a little bit last week, and I'm sticking with it. The Twins are terrible, and I was right to put them in 4th place. They're 0-4 after getting swept by a questionable St. Louis team and then got smoked by the White Sox, 9-0. Some notable pitchers who have been touched up really good last week. Pablo Lopez, Griffin Jax, Johan Duran, and Bailey Ober. I just don't like it. I don't like Minnesota.
I'll stay in the Midwest. Team that I do not like so far has been the Milwaukee Brewers, a team that both me and Skyler picked to win the AL Central. And my overreaction is that the Brewers will finish with at least 3 teams ahead of them in the AL Central standings. So that means that they finish either 4th or 5th. The Cardinals, the Reds, the Cubs all off to good starts, and you could see avenues for all 3 of those teams being competitive to being over 500 once we get to season's end. And the Milwaukee Brewers pitching staff has given up 47 runs in 4 games. 20 of those runs were against the Yankees in a single game, but they're still averaging, nearly 12 runs a game right now allowed, and that's just numbers that we've never really seen in baseball. Some pretty disappointing numbers as well, too, velocity-wise. I believe they've thrown like 30% of their fastballs under 90 miles per hour or something like that, by far the most in the big leagues so far. And in a game where velocity really tells you everything, the Brewers just don't have it right now. The strongest point against this not happening is that they're super hurt on the rotation end, and they're probably going to get DL Hall back, Brandon Woodruff back, and some of these other guys as well too that definitely won't be throwing 90 mile per hour fastballs. But as of right now, it does not look good for the Brewers, and a slow start can really hurt you in a very competitive NL Central so far. Number 4.
Yeah, I'm right on the same page with you with my next one. The Brewers are playing some very un-Brewers-like baseball, and they're in some serious trouble. 0-4, you mentioned it was 47 runs they've given up so far, and they usually do pull it together eventually in the Central. But like you said, this year you have the emergence of the Cubs. You have promising starts from St. Louis and Cincinnati. It is not adding up, and you're running out of time. Cannot start horrible if you're the Brewers.
Yeah. Can't win a division in April, but you can most definitely lose it. And they haven't even played a game in April yet because we're all in March. But my 4th overreaction is that the Dodgers will break the regular season win record with over 120 wins in the regular season. They're 6-0 right now. This is I believe the best start for a team that won the World Series the year prior since like 1923 Yankees or something like that. I could be completely wrong, but I thought I saw a tweet saying that yesterday. And as of right now, it's tough to see a world where they don't get at least 110, 115 victories because their offense is so deep. Even navigating the no Mookie in Japan and no Freddie Freeman as he got hurt or re-aggravated his ankle getting into the shower yesterday or something. But the pitching staff is insane. Only 17 runs allowed in the first 6 games. We know the bullpen's legit. We know the starter options are plentiful. Yamamoto's been great. Maybe not Roki Sasaki so far, but Tyler Glasnow was great last night against the Braves lineup that's had a slow start. And if it's there, like the Dodgers can get it. It's really only determining if they like are really going to push for it, because we've seen teams in other sports be close to like win records in the past and kind of led up to realize, hey, the regular season doesn't matter that much, and let's just kind of focus on the postseason. But if the Dodgers want to go get it, I definitely think they can, and I think 120 wins is within the realm of possibility. I saw somebody saying, who was it? It wasn't Dallas Braden. Somebody said that they're the best team of all time, and it was a reputable source as well too. I'm not jumping to that conclusion yet, but best regular season team of all time is most definitely possible. What about the 5th one?
Yeah, I was saving this one for last because it really feels like the MLB runs through Los Angeles with the Dodgers. I also had the Dodgers breaking the single season win record. And, I don't think we were in the wrong necessarily for being cautious about a team with so many moving pieces, so many injuries at the time, but they're on an absolute tear. It's timely hitting from future Hall of Famers, shiny new arms in the bullpen to help out Roki, because he seems like the only one who's going to have a blow up start in that entire staff. Yeah, and I'm not really surprised we have about 4 out of 5 here either, because these are the teams with the most drastic starts. And the Dodgers are definitely at the top of that list still.
My 5th overreaction is going to be a fun one. If you remember us doing this last year, I believe I had Bubba Thompson getting more stolen bases than at bats.
Yeah.
I forget exactly how that went, but I don't think it ended up being true. And he ended up, I believe, now he's playing college football or something like that. But so he's had a very interesting last 12 months. Definitely couldn't have predicted that in my bold prediction or overreactions. But what I like doing a little silly, funny one in the last one. And I went to sort through stolen bases to see the leaders so far. And I was very surprised to see that Manny Machado has 3 stolen bases already. So my overreaction is that Manny Machado sets a career high in stolen bases. He had 20 stolen bases in 2015. Obviously, that was 10 years ago. Now at this point, he was a whole lot younger. 20 stolen bases seems like it's pretty damn tough to do for him, but having 3 in the first 5 games is definitely on pace for it if you look at the mathematical sense of it. It's going to be tough to do, but maybe, I think we saw Freddie Freeman, Paul Goldschmidt have some pretty good base stealing seasons, even, not being the fastest guy, just being a smart runner, picking up, certain counts and what pitches are coming, and certain guys and their, maybe – less attention paid to you when you don't have that speed. And maybe Manny Machado gets to 21 stolen bases this year and sets a new career high. And if he does, I can say that I called it. So
that was pretty cool.
There's that. Crazy, though. I was very shocked to see that he had 3, which is only behind IKF and O'Neill Cruz. So the Pittsburgh Pirates are off and running so far this year. But we move into our top 15 power rankings, which are always going to be interesting when you've only played 4 games in a season that has 158 left of them to go, 162 in total. So I guess we'll get to honorable mentions first. I don't have any, but don't be mad if your team's not on here, because they will be eventually if they're good enough.
Yeah, the 3 teams that would have been on my list if we did this a week ago: Boston, Atlanta, Milwaukee. Definitely still on pace for the playoffs, the postseason, but I made this list kind of based off of the eye test because I try to watch everybody.
Yeah, I guess you could say for me as well, too. The Brewers and Atlanta, both teams that I do not have on the 15 as of right now due to their ridiculously terrible starts. But if they get back somewhat to par next week, then or 2 weeks from now, they'll probably end up being on the list. So number 15, who do you got here?
We'll start off with the Detroit Tigers. Yeah, they're only 1-3, but it's hard to go into Dodger Stadium and win. They quickly regroup. They scored 9 on Seattle last night. Relative to non-super teams, they're going to be fine. A 21-26 run differential. It's not bad, just coming off of a Dodgers series.
My number 15 team is going to be the Toronto Blue Jays. They split 4 with the Orioles over the weekend and took the opener against the Nationals last night. The offense has been a bit surprising to me as far as the depth of the lineup goes. And the pitching, although 26 runs in the first 5 games isn't the greatest, but they were facing that Orioles lineup that we know to be super potent at times. I'm kind of impressed with it. So Bowden Francis, Jose Barrios, Max Scherzer, who's now on the IL, but Kevin Gausman, they have options. And that's something that you always like to have at the beginning part of the season. The Blue Jays are in a spot where that they could say that's a strength. And so they do crack onto my 15 spot of the power rankings. Number 14.
At 14, we'll go with the San Francisco Giants. It's always going to be difficult for these guys to score a bunch of runs, but so far the pitching staff is healthy. And we've seen some pretty good games thrown by Hicks, Ray, and Verlander. They just got to keep that going, stay healthy. And there's a chance.
Number 14 for me kind of fits with the 1-4 start and the 14 spot kind of lining up together. It's the Boston Red Sox. I know a really rough opening series against the Texas Rangers, but they were away playing in Texas, and they did have Baltimore's home opener, which can always be a tough place to play for a home opener. But the pitching hasn't been that bad, only 21 runs allowed. The offense obviously has been the problem so far with their main guy, Rafael Devers, just having a historically bad start to the season. I don't expect that to last long. There's a whole bunch of guys on Twitter, making a big deal out of it. It's Rafael Devers. This is a guy who is a proven bat. Once we get a couple weeks under our belt, I'm sure we're going to be looking at Rafi at least with a 700, 800 OPS and putting up some good numbers. So I'm not too worried yet about the Red Sox. Number 13.
I'm going with St. Louis here at 13. They just swept Minnesota. They hit a whole bunch of homers, and they have a nice pitching staff. If Jojo Romero didn't blow that game yesterday against the Angels in the 10th, they'd be undefeated, probably a bit higher on everybody's list. I just still am not sure if they're trading guys yet, so it's tough to put them any higher.
Number 13 for me is going to be where I slot the Seattle Mariners. Pretty disappointing start, I think you could say, through the first 5 games, losing 3 out of 5, only 14 runs scored. But we know the pitching staff is good, especially when it's not Emerson Hancock on the bump, as he got absolutely rocked last night. But the first 4 guys in the rotation are dominant. The bullpen's dominant as well, too. The lineup just needs to be average, and I'm holding out the chance they become that over the next couple of weeks and get back to a formidable team that we expect to be at the top of near the top of the AL West once the season's done. Number 12.
At 12, I'm going with the Royals. So far, it's been all right. 2-2, back up to 500 after smacking Milwaukee around yesterday, 11-1. And it's all about the lineup with these guys. Who's going to help Bobby Witt? So far, Jonathan India has looked great. Can't ask for much more than that because they didn't do much more than that. So I have him at 12.
Number 12 for me is going to be the team that's played the most games so far in the MLB. That's the Chicago Cubs, sitting at 3-4. Lost 2 in Tokyo, split 4 with the Arizona Diamondbacks. And then as an A's fan, I don't even think we should talk about last night, what happened there. But this Cubs offense looks good. I wouldn't say it surprised me, but they look more formidable than what I expected on the pitching end as well, too. They've played some really tough lineups in the Dodgers and the D-backs, of course. Haven't played a home game yet. And if they, win a series, not in Oakland, but in West Sacramento, I think they're going to feel pretty happy about their first, 9 games of the season. So Chicago Cubs at number 12 for me, one of the teams I've been more impressed with, even though the record doesn't really indicate a reason to be impressed so far. Number 11.
At 11, I'm going with the Cleveland Guardians. It's always hard to separate those AL Central teams, especially when it's early in the season. But they did look pretty good against Kansas City. They got that series win. And if they can take 1 or 2 from San Diego this week, I may bump them up more. It's basically all we have to reference right now. So if a couple teams are close, I'll go with who they played.
Number 11 for me is going to be the Baltimore Orioles, sitting at 3-2. They got a win yesterday against the Red Sox and split the series in Toronto over the weekend. The offense looks good, but it's already injury riddled. We know Gunnar Henderson is coming back in hopefully a couple of days, as I believe he's already starting to play in AAA. But Colton Cowser is now hurt after he broke his thumb sliding head first into first base. We know that just, sounds exactly like what it is, just completely a terrible situation to even think about doing. But Orioles look good. The pitching staff's been better than I expected. Felix Bautista looked rough yesterday to close out the game against the Red Sox, but I assume that he'll get back on track as time goes on. And the Orioles, close to being a top 10 team for me. Number 10.
At number 10, I'm going to go with the Mets. They lose that series in Houston, but for a team whose biggest issue was pitching, it didn't look too bad. It's just not a top 5 lineup at the moment. I expect big things against Toronto and Miami. That's why I do not have Toronto on my list. But they're also playing pretty good today. So we'll see. That's just a Toronto shout out there. But it's really about the Mets. I got them right at the end of the top 10.
Number 10 for me is going to be where I slot the Houston Astros. The biggest thing for them, only 8 runs scored in the first 4 games of the season, but only 12 runs allowed, which speaks about their rotation and bullpen dominance in the first 4 games of the season. I expect the offense to tick up as well, too, as we get situated. I'm not panicking about the Stros. We didn't panic about them last season. They ended up making the playoffs. Got eliminated in 2 games, but that's beside the point. I think the Houston Astros will definitely be in the thick of it as we go through the season. Number 9.
Yeah, 9's where I got Houston, right near that spot. Not a lot of runs yet, but look pretty good so far. So I think they're going to go above the Mets for me as of right now. Just a baseline comparison, not the end-all be-all, but they look pretty good.
Number 9 for me is going to be where I slot one of the undefeated teams. It's the San Diego Padres. They've looked great throughout the first 9 games, but 5 games. But I'm not going to freak out and put them at the number 3 spot or something like that. The offense still has considerable issues and is heavily relying on Gavin Sheets right now, who did have a big spring. But I'm not going to say that Gavin Sheets is going to be like this all-star level player. 9 runs allowed is really good, but that Atlanta lineup was just having a really bad week and got some pretty shitty BABIP luck as well, too. I'm not going to be a hater, but I do think the Padres come down to earth here eventually and don't compete with the Dodgers for the division. Number 8.
At 8, I'm going with the Texas Rangers. 3 out of 4 against Boston is awesome. And outside of a bad Kumar Rocker start against Cincinnati, they've been shutting the door down. Just want to see a little more, I guess. It's another team with a lot of new faces. And, I still got them in the top 10. I'm not worried.
Number 8 is where I slot the Mets. Like you said, a series lost in Houston over the weekend, but got it right with the start of a good series against the Marlins last night in a big victory. Only 15 runs scored in the first 4 games. That's heavily inflated by, I believe, their 10-run outing yesterday against Miami, but the offense will get going. The pitching has been good through 4 games. That's not something that we expected, like you said. And I think the Mets should be good long-term as well, too. So they already kind of had a plus standing in my mind. Number 7.
A 7's where I got the Arizona Diamondbacks. I still think they're an elite wild card team, but they split against the team I have right above them while scoring a bunch of runs, though. 27 in their first 4 is a massive test right now. At Yankee Stadium, that game just started. That's going to be the real test for me before I move them into the top 5.
Number 7 for me is going to be where I slot the Texas Rangers. 3-2. Huge loss yesterday against Reds, but a good series over the weekend, taking 3 out of 4 from the Sox. Run differential looks a little weird with that crazy game yesterday, losing, 15-2 or something like that. But the pitching outside of Kumar Rocker, like you said, looks pretty good. And the offense, I think, is going to be there as well, too. So the Texas Rangers at number 7. Number 6.
At 6, I got the team that shall not be named, the Chicago Cubbies. Only 3 out of 4, or 3-4 record because of those games in Japan with the Dodgers. But I still think they were recovering from that series. They split a tough series in Arizona too, and then they just take all of their anger out on the A's for 18 runs last night. I think they're a legit squad and right outside the top five. They should be winning their division pretty soon here, or at least leading it.
Yeah. Number 6 for me, I'm giving some respect to these AL Central teams. So I'm putting the Royals here at 2-2. Big win over Milwaukee yesterday, and a 1-2 series against the Guardians isn't anything too crazy to get upset about. This team's gonna be good. The offense looks better with Jonathan India in there. Still wish that they did a bit more in the bottom half, but the rotation and the bullpen is really damn good. So the Royals go to number 6 for me. Number 5.
At 5, I got the Baltimore Orioles. They split in Toronto, but the offense is really clicking so far. 3 games in a row with at least 8 runs. They beat Boston yesterday. Westberg, Tyler O'Neill, and now Jackson Holiday, too, with some really great starts on offense.
Number 5 for me is going to be where I slot the Cleveland Guardians. Rough loss yesterday to the Padres, but series win against the Royals in Kansas City over the weekend. Just part of that pushing the respect narrative to the AL Central, and I think the Guardians and the Royals are the 2 teams that deserve it the most as of right now. Number 4.
At 4, I got the San Diego Padres. This is basically the Diamondbacks' holding spot for when they get things on track, because San Diego is undefeated. They sweep Atlanta. Maybe they are onto something here. I was worried that they lost too much, but we see Profar is going to miss 80 games anyways. 3 guys hitting the absolute crap out of the baseball for them. Merrill, Tatis, and surprisingly Gavin Sheets, like you mentioned. Imagine what they could look like when the whole rotation is not on the IL. I think there's a chance here for something.
Yeah. Number 4 is going to be where I do slot the Arizona Diamondbacks. So the holding spot is just being held by them in my scenario here. 2-2 in the first 4. Rough series now going into the Bronx. But they are up 2-1 in the bottom of the 3rd. Corbin Burns getting his first start as well, too, I think is pretty cool. The rotation will be there. I know they, experienced some growing pains in the first couple of games of the season, but the offense did put up 27 runs against a pretty respectable pitching staff in the Chicago Cubs. I think that was pretty underrated over the weekend. This D-backs team is going to have some high-scoring games, but they're ready to go for that. So give me them in the 4th spot. Number 3.
If we do the math here, I think we're on the same page with what's coming next. I got the Philadelphia Phillies. Their comeback on opening day after Mackenzie Gore came out was awesome. This is definitely going to be an upper-tier squad again. Despite dropping a game in that first series, they're going to be fine.
Yeah, number 3 is the Phillies. We start getting to the less of the variable teams here in the back or the front end, I guess you could call it, of the power rankings. 3-1. Won their home opener against the Rockies yesterday. Off day today. Only 15 runs allowed in the first 4. Ton of homers hit. They look good. Give me the Phillies at 3. Number 2.
The New York Yankees, a 22-run differential. That is the best in baseball. I guess the pitching doesn't matter when you're scoring about 10 runs a game. And, well, they just homered off of Corbin Burns a minute ago. And I wouldn't be surprised if they put up another crazy run total on these guys today.
Well, they're obviously cheating, right? It's the torpedo bats. They're obviously only allowed because of the Yankees, all this stuff. Now, get over it. Get over yourself. The Yankees can fucking hit, and the torpedo bats are here to stay because they're hitting a ton of tanks for them. 3-0 in the first 3 games, like you talked about, 36 runs. The runs allowed doesn't even matter when you're putting up that many runs per game. Aaron Judge is playing like prime Barry Bonds. Jazz Chisholm is playing, I don't even know what the comparison is for him, but they've got guys playing well right now, and that's what matters. And they look like the best team in the American League throughout the first weekend of the MLB season. And that doesn't really mean jack shit, but, feels good if you're a Yankee fan, I guess. Number 1, and this team I would expect is going to be here the entire year.
Yeah, the LA Dodgers, there's not much more to say. We just both predicted them to break the wins record, and they haven't lost a game yet. Like I said, it doesn't even matter if Shohei Ohtani throws an inning this year. I think they're going to be perfectly fine.
Yeah, the Dodgers number one. I'm not going to spend too much time on it because I already talked about them breaking the win record like you talked about as well too. But 6-0, 36 runs scored is 6 runs per game. They're allowing under 3 per game, so that means that they're winning by a pretty wide margin in these as well too. Good series, even though the Braves are winless. Pretty good series over these next couple of games as well too to watch between two NL teams that we expect to be up towards the top in the standings once the season's end. Moving on to halftime, though, where Skyler's got some March Madness stuff.
Yeah, we are down to 4 teams, and it's all 4 1 seeds. Can you believe that? That hasn't happened in a long time. I should have looked up when the last time was, but not in our lifetime of brackets.
I think it was 08.
Okay. So, yeah,
I think I saw New York
Derrick
Times.
Rose was in college.
Yeah.
We saw his entire career as fans. So let's get into this. It's going to be Saturday afternoon in Indianapolis. We'll start off with the first game. That's number 1 Florida against number 1 Auburn. If this game was on a Monday, Florida probably wins. I think they're definitely the hottest team in the country after that 18-2 run to finish off the game. But Janai Broome has a week to rest after his nasty fall. He wrecked his elbow. He has a week to rest. I got Auburn. They're tougher. They play better defense. And it was my original pick to win it all. So I'm going to stick with the Tigers.
Yeah, I think that was the first bracket I created who I had winning it all. So I'll go with Auburn as well, too.
Okay. After that game, same court, about 3 hours later, it's number 1 Houston and number 1 Duke. These are all 1 seeds. So if you tell me you got to pick Duke, I get it. They're really good. But Houston also plays the best defense in the nation. I cannot believe they're plus 200 right now on a neutral site after holding Tennessee to 50 points and beating them by 19. So I got the Cougs because they got senior ball handlers and the best defense in the nation.
But they don't have the best player in the nation, Skyler, and sometimes that's all that matters. So give me Cooper Flagg and the Duke Blue Devils to move on to the national championship. Got to get a blue blood in there.
Yeah. Well, the championship game's on Monday, so I might as well make my pick here. I think if this wasn't Auburn's year, they would have lost already. Auburn-Houston might combine for only 100 points, but the Tigers are much better from 3. So I think if that's the matchup, I got to take Auburn again. They're number 1 overall seed for a reason.
Yeah, I think you could flip a coin for Auburn-Duke as well, too. So I'll go Duke, but I'm not opposed like Auburn winning or anything like that.
Okay. Yeah, I put another note here. We're basically headed into mock draft territory once again. We've reached that time. More NFL draft stuff next week. We got about 25 days or so until the draft. And, we're not going to get a whole lot of new news, but we'll definitely get leaks and rumors from scouts and teams that accidentally do it.
Yeah. Also, I think the league meeting stuff is kind of somewhat notable as well too. The tush push is still alive.
Yeah.
We saw that the electronic chain stuff is going to be implemented this year, so we'll get no more note cards to determine if your team's going to the playoffs or not. Thank you or FU Gene Steratore in 2017. See what else did we see? But yeah, they changed it from 30 to 35.
Yeah.
Is that where the kickoff is, or is that where the touchback goes?
That's where the touchback will be.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Wow. So more offense.
Like almost like kicking it out of bounds.
Yeah. So don't do that. Kick it in the landing zone. I saw that the thing about, I forget who it was that implemented it. Oh, Detroit, that was talking about the seeding in the playoffs. Just because you win the division doesn't mean you get the 4 seed or something like that. Didn't even go to a vote, I guess, but I guess maybe we'll talk about it in May.
Seems like something the NBA will try first.
Yeah, pretty much. They did try it and then they took it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the league meetings. We didn't see anything too crazy that it's going to, affect every single day and every single little bit of football that you watch. There's no, I guess there already is a pitch clock kind of in the NFL with the play clock, but we're not seeing torpedo footballs going to the league or something like that. But Yeah, we'll get into our Layups bowl predictions before we get on out of here. 2 for 4 last week, so not too bad. We both hit our layups. I had over 4.5 in the first 5 innings of Baltimore versus Toronto on Thursday. A lot of offense early in that one, so that one hit. Skyler had number 2, Tennessee, minus 3.5 versus number 3, University of Kentucky on Friday, not United Kingdom. And that did happen, so good for Skyler there. This week, I have the Dodgers over the Braves on Wednesday. So maybe not the boldest prediction, but Bryce Elder starting for the Braves in that one. They have a good track record against them in Los Angeles. And I'm completely blanking on who's pitching for the Dodgers. Oh, Blake Snell. And the Braves do not have a good track record against Blake Snell. So even though it's probably minus 200, minus 250, whatever it is, if it hits, you're going to make money. So there's that.
All right. Going back to Major League Baseball for my picks this week. Also got the Braves involved. I have them winning. This is on Friday against Miami. Schwellenbach against undecided, of course. A lot of injuries on that Miami team already. But yeah, overall, I think Atlanta's going to get back on track this weekend. Maybe not against the Dodgers, but after that. And Miami, I think it was the right call to avoid picking them on any bold predictions or power rankings because there's no way you can keep this going forever. 3 walk-off wins in the first series. So I got Atlanta getting back on track on Friday.
A pretty crazy start for the Marlins in the first 4, but I'm happy that we did not put them in our top 15 power rankings because that would have been a bit of a head scratcher. Last week, bold predictions, I had Vladimir Guerrero homers on opening day. That did not happen, but he's been hitting the ball hard, regardless that is a red. Skyler had number 1, Houston beats Purdue by 20 plus.
It was a good game.
Good game, but it did not happen, unfortunately. It's both red, but those are both pretty bold for us, so not a crazy shock there. This week, I have Bryce Harper homering on Thursday. That's Antonio Sensatella pitching for the Rockies, who had a very interesting outing in his first outing of the season against the Tampa Bay Rays, where he went 4 1/3 innings, gave up 9 hits, but did not allow a single run, and also did not strike anybody out. And I assume not too many walks as well, too, because 9 hits over that amount of time doesn't mean there's a lot more room for base runners without allowing any runs. So Bryce Harper homers against them. He's had a good track record against them, and I say he gets one out of the ballpark on Thursday.
Okay. My bold prediction also going to be another baseball team that is winless, getting back on track. That's the Milwaukee Brewers. They're going to win tomorrow against Kansas City. That's Peralta against Reagans. Should be an amazing game. But this time, Peralta doesn't have a short porch, so he may completely shut these guys down. I think Milwaukee will get their first win on Wednesday.
That's going to do it, though, for episode 238. Way shorter episode than last week, so I won't say making up for lost time, but the reverse of that statement. But yeah, pretty short episode next week. More baseball, of course, as it'll be that way for the next 4 to 5 months now at this point. Probably some more draft news as we get closer. We'll know who the national champion is in the NCAA for basketball, which is pretty cool. And Aaron Judge will probably have like 15 homers already at that point. The Dodgers probably haven't lost yet. Maybe Manny Machado has 10 stolen bases. Maybe some wishful thinking there. But any parting notes from you, Skyler?
Maybe Joey Estes will be pitching in Las Vegas by then. But yeah, more and more baseball means more things to talk about, and I'm sure we'll get a slightly better view on these teams' future as we move on.
Yeah. Also, Max Meyer, shout out to you because you had a good first start, and that was one of my guy picks.
Aranda too.
Yeah, Aranda, good starts. Matt Wallner, Mark Bantos rooting for your downfall. Just kidding. But yeah, we'll see you guys next week on episode 239, approaching 250 very rapidly.
All right. Adios.
Peace.